Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, April 10th, 2019 episode of Free Webinar Wednesdays. This is Eric Cook, and I am with WSI Digital, where we work with businesses and organizations and helping them better understand and leverage the power of the internet as a strategic. More about us and all the fun stuff we get to do online over at poweredbywsi.com. I am joining everybody today from the lovely Four Seasons just outside of Dallas, Texas, where I had the privilege of serving on a panel discussion this morning talking about the evolution of digital banking. And I know that this is not a banking specific webinar series. I've got a whole separate one for that called the Banker Education Series. This is more general in nature as Free Webinar Wednesdays. But what I thought I'd do is, since it's certainly top of mind, is maybe share some insight from our discussion today, talking about the evolution of just digital from a banker's perspective, but how that also can translate to other businesses. And in some instances, the actual embracing or adoption of digital is actually happening faster outside of the banking space. No surprise, the banking space tends to be a little conservative and guarded and careful, as well it should be, since we're dealing with people's money and privacy. Those are all important, sensitive things to think about. But some of the things, especially as it relates to customer engagement, personality, conversation, chatbots, those sorts of components. So with that, today's show made available at freewebinarwednesdays.com. You can hop over there and check out some of the past shows if you're interested. And if you've got questions or comments or thoughts, apologize for a little bit of the background noise here, but questions, comments, or thoughts, feel free to throw those into the chat, and I'll keep an eye on that during today's conversation. So if you're not familiar with the folks over at S&P, they serve the financial services sector, providing, I guess, intelligence, insights, really the fuel that helps to drive an organization forward in this industry. And I've known these folks for quite some time, SNL Financial prior to S&P Global, some great individuals. And today's the last day of their community banking conference, and got to sit on a panel discussion with a couple of other really smart bankers, and then got to watch a couple of my other friends also present on another panel discussion. So some really, really good stuff. But one of the things that was shared during the conference was some research on the concept of digital banking and mobile banking in particular, and how community banks can leverage a digital experience to better engage with their clients. And when I say banks, don't think that I'm only talking about banks. So whatever industry you happen to be in, think about how your digital footprint allows for those individuals interested in doing business with you or having conversations or learning about you, doing that from an electronic perspective. And in the banking world, there's a lot of discussion and conversation around our branches, the physical location where we go to hand a teller our checks to make a deposit. Are those really needed or necessary in your physical location? Do people need to come see you to get your products or services, or can they do that electronically? Or is there a way that when they show up, you can leverage technology even in that in-office, in-branch, in-store experience to make it a better value and make it more meaningful for that customer when they show up? And a couple of things that and where I want to spend probably most of today's discussion is in the area of chatbots and what's being referred to now by many as conversational marketing or conversational data acquisition. One of the companies that I've come familiar with is a company called Drift, and they do an enterprise level chatbot. There's a ton of really great information on their site. I'll share with you a couple of other platforms that we've also been looking at as well. So, and then let's go to here. So kind of working our way down, I would say, from an enterprise, and there's certainly a lot of other ones out there that you can take a look at. Drift is one that I've noticed, and it's funny. I had a conversation with another vendor in the banking space, and I recognized a little Drift bot. And so while we're in the conversation, I said, "Oh, by the way, are you guys using Drift to collect conversational data off of your website?" And she said, "Yeah, we are. How did you know?" And I said, "Well, I've been spending a little time on their website learning about conversational marketing." But essentially, this is a shift. And again, in the community banking space, we've always prided ourselves on the way that customers can come into the bank and we get to know who they are. We learn their names, we know their children's names. And traditionally, the large banks had a really hard time doing that because of turnover and technology and the impersonal nature. So think about your business. How well do you get to know your customers, and do you provide a personalized, in-person, high-touch type of an experience? And if you do, the thought for many is, if I implement a chatbot, that's going to ruin that. The chatbot's going to be cold. It's going to be, a technology that's not going to speak for me. But the reality with conversational marketing and chatbots and artificial intelligence is you can program these little things to do a much better job of collecting information off of your site than if you were to expect somebody to go to a page on your website and fill out a form and send you their information. People don't like filling out forms. They're doing it less and less. And you now have the opportunity when somebody, it's like, "Hey, well, if I'm here, hop on, do you have any questions?" Well, you can click on the chat bot and you can say, I'm just browsing right now, just checking things out. And your conversation could be tailored based off of how the typical person visits your website, or think about how a typical person shows up in one of your stores, and how do you start a conversation. So if I say I'm just browsing, okay, well, just kind of curious, how did you find yourself on the site? And if I say I'm just researching, somebody heard about it, I heard about Drift and I want to learn more, just testing out the bot. So I'm just going to respond. And so now what's happening behind the scenes is I'm talking with technology. I'm giving them a little bit more information. They're building a profile about me that could potentially be, and I know that it is, going into a CRM that allows for them to quantify and qualify me as a potential lead to their business. So you can say, just testing the bot. Oh, sure, not a problem. They're throwing in some emojis to add some personality. Talking about conversational marketing blueprints. Hey, would you be interested in something like that? Well, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. So you can get an example of how the lead process actually goes through. Now what's happened is I let it sit for a while, and if I don't respond back, now you can see that John, who's a real person, is jumping on, and he's actually saying, "Hey, boom, what's up, Eric? John here." So because I've actually been to their website before, filled out some information, and they knew who I was, I've gone in and I have, I've got a profile on their system. So he knows that it's me. "Hey, John." And I'm going to respond back. I'm actually doing a webinar now and using you as an example. So I actually sent John an email after I went through his course and kind of went through some stuff. And so anyway, but he knows who I am. And, so you can see now this is a personalized experience. There's some interaction here. And while it started off with me working with technology and artificial intelligence, and it wasn't impersonal, now all of a sudden it's been carried over, and now I've got a personalized chat opportunity. He didn't have to pick up, but he saw that I was in here. So now he's, sending a little wave, saying hello to everybody. So you can kind of get an idea of how this is all working. And yeah, there you go. Too funny. And if we've ever had an opportunity to meet, the only shaving that I do is my head. I've got a little bit of beard hair going on. So I'm just going to give him a little LOL and say, got to scoot to the next screen. But thanks for chiming in. Chat again soon. Boom. So So that just gives you an example of how a chatbot, and I totally did not even plan that. So it's kind of cool how that actually ended up working. But my information is in the system. He knows that I've downloaded content. He knows that I've been looking at white papers. So I might be a highly qualified target for him, which is maybe why it flagged the system for John to pick up and have a conversation with me. There's a couple of other platforms out there as well that you can also take a look at. LivePerson is one of the ones that's been around for eons, primarily as web chat, not necessarily like chat bots. They do a lot of work in the financial services space, which is why we're also kind of looking at them. We have a couple of our clients that are using this platform as well. The nice part about some of these is they also integrate with a back-end inventory system. They can integrate with your social media channel. So if I start a conversation here and then I pop over to Facebook and I go into Facebook Messenger, that conversation can carry over, but the agent at the institution or the business only has one chat conversation that they have to worry about managing. They're not logging into multiple platforms. So I know LivePerson, just as an example, they support like WhatsApp Business, they support Messenger on Facebook, they support Business Messenger on iPhone. A number of other platforms are coming down the pike. So one employee within the back end can manage conversations across multiple platforms. And then a couple of others that are a little bit more kind of Messenger, Facebook-y, ManyChat and Mobile Monkey. They're a couple of the platforms. So you can see Mobile Monkey recognizes that I'm logged into Facebook on this computer. So it's giving me the option to say, hey, do you want to just continue on as Eric? If I do that, then Mobile Monkey gets access to all of my Facebook information. So it knows who I am. It knows what my name is. It knows what email address is associated. It might not know what email address it is. But if I ask Mobile Monkey to send me some information, it would say, would you like us to send your info to the email that Facebook has? And I could say yes. So now the data that I would normally have to type in and share, Mobile Monkey and other platforms are able to gather that data, pull it in automatically, populate their CRM, and now you can experience a much more in-person conversation. So what you might think of in the past as being a situation where the chatbot is impersonal and it has, you know, press 1 for this or 2 for that, like the traditional telephone systems. When telephone automation came around, you've got a much, much smoother way of interacting with your site visitors. So if I go ahead and I say, yeah, I'm going to just continue as Eric, I'm actually part of their Mobile Monkey Facebook bot, so they will send me information all the time. So you can see knock, knock, hey, who's there? I can go through, send in some little info. So is it cool if we message you? I'm going to say yes. So the challenge that most businesses are going to have if they decide that this is the type of conversation that they want to make available to their customers and site visitors and prospects is you can see that the conversation that's being typed here, the flows, the decisions, this is requiring a little bit of specialty, and these platforms will provide assistance, but writing content for a chatbot is not the same as writing content for a blog post or SEO or a technical paper or even a white paper. You have to think, how do people communicate? So when I type in here and I can say thanks, you'll notice that it sends in a note and then it comes back with you're very welcome. One of the things that you may have caught when I was on the Drift conversation is even when I was chatting with the Drift bot, even though it had the ability to come back instantaneously with a response, you might have noticed that it had the little 3 dots that it looked like the Drift bot was typing, because that adds a little bit of a human element to the conversation. So rather than me thinking, even though I know I'm talking to technology, when the technology behaves very similarly to a human being, it just makes that conversation process that much more comfortable. So handful of different ways there just to kind of start thinking about things as it relates to this conversation and being able to pull people in. So I just wanted to, I guess, spend a little bit of time sharing some of those thoughts, because in the financial services space, there's not been a lot of movement in getting to the bot technology. One of the more financially related specific is a company called Abe.ai, where they talk about building a financial assistant, where instead of I'm just looking for info, you can now go through and actually have conversations with your financial institution. Some of it may be balance inquiry and just information. You could get to the point where it's even transactional. An example of this on the consumer side is I was on Facebook a while ago. I'm a cyclist, and I saw an advertisement for a rear tail light that had kind of a unique red blinky lights, but then it also, when it got dark, it put a couple of lasers off the back end to almost create a virtual bicycle lane. So cars that are approaching you from the back would know that, hey, this is carved out and you've got a bike riding here, and then that laser back bicycle lane would basically just follow you along. I went ahead and it was on special. I'm sure it came out of some company from China, because when I got it, it wasn't built very well. But I made an impulse buy for like $12. And when I purchased it, it asked me, would I like to receive notifications and do my transaction through Facebook Messenger, which I did. Then Facebook Messenger facilitated that transaction. It collected my credit card, it processed the payment, it collected my address for shipment. I didn't have to go to their website. Everything was fulfilled directly within the Messenger platform. But then what was really cool about it is as that product got ready to ship, Messenger would send me notifications to say, hey, just wanted to let you know we're packing up your light. It's going to be on its way soon. And then when it got sent out, hey, just a heads up, UPS just picked it up. It's on its way. And then here's a tracking number. And then when it got delivery confirmation, the messenger shot a note and said, just wanted to confirm the package has been delivered. Thanks for ordering with us. If we can do anything else. And then periodically, because it knew I was an avid cyclist, because I bought that and I bought quickly based off of seeing the ad, there were other things that it had, like reflective strips and front lights and other sorts of things that may be of interest to me. So it asked for permission and then dripped those things to me over a series of time, and eventually decided I would opt out of that conversation. So I closed it, and then I guess reneged or took back authority for that to contact me. But for the intent that I wanted it to do, as far as buying the tail light and having it processed and sent to me, it actually was a pretty good experience, and was one that was facilitated all through a messaging-based application, just like I would have had a conversation if I called somebody at the store and said, hey, I want to buy a tail light. Here's my credit card information and my address. And then that person at the store just picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, we're shipping it. It's on its way. UPS or FedEx just confirmed that it got delivered. Is there anything else that we can do for you? So as I wrapped this a little bit earlier, I've mentioned fast free webinar Wednesdays. I'm trying not to go for the full on hour, just short little informational nuggets that you need to be able to take away and glean some insight from. Think about the brands that you interact with. Think about the way that individuals interact with you. And is there an opportunity? Are you already having these conversations, or are you missing out opportunities to have conversations because you don't have technology in place to conduct these in your absence? And so those are all things that I just challenge you to kind of kick around, and the trends. You know, if I go to a website and I'm interested in learning about something, I may browse around and click on the pages, but more times than not, I'll go right to a chatbot and I'll just say, hey, do you do X, Y, and Z? Do you offer X, Y, and Z? And the chatbot gets me where I want to go a lot faster. And so as websites evolve and customer online experiences evolve, I think this chat, conversation, artificial intelligence, let me collect your data, but maybe not make it feel like I'm asking you to fill a form out, and how can I better serve you, is going to become more of the norm than what it is today. And so you have to think about how this can be implemented in your business, your industry. Look at what your competitors are doing, and if they're doing it now, you better catch up. And if they're not doing it, then you've got an opportunity to get an early move on those folks, because this is definitely not anything that is going to be slowing down at any time soon. So I'm going to just do a quick little double check and see if there's any questions that anybody's posted into the chat area. thoughts, feedback, and if not, if you do happen to be in the banking space and you are going to be in Las Vegas next week for the Financial Brand Forum, I'm not speaking at the forum as a presenter, but I'm going to be attending, and I'm very much looking forward to attending my first Financial Brand Forum. So any bankers out there, either listening live or if you happen to catch the replay on this, if you're going to be at the forum, let me know. Eric Cook on Twitter, Eric Cook MBA on LinkedIn, eCook on Facebook, so you can certainly track me down or just drop me a note. I'm sure we're going to have a mobile app that we'll be able to use, but that's going to be a pretty exciting show, and I'm looking forward to gleaning a lot of great information off of some of the folks that are going to be speaking out there. So with that, looks like the question queue is empty. Thanks for everybody that's joining me live. I appreciate the continued support and attendance. And looks like we've got one individual that's just hopping on now as I get ready to close the show. Sorry about that, Deanne, but we've already gone through today's content, so you'll have to wait for the recording. Or I know you know my phone number. Just feel free to give me a ring, and I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So with that, I doubt we will have a free webinar Wednesdays next week, as I will be at the forum. So we'll probably take a week off, and then the week after that, I'm going to be in Illinois at a community banking marketing conference, but hopefully I'll be able to sneak away for a little bit and share some insight. So until then, keep an eye on freewebinarwednesdays.com. Look forward to chatting with everybody again soon. Have an awesome week, and we will talk to you later. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.